So the Sooners just recently saw some more changes on the off-the-field staff as well as on-field. You saw that special teams coordinator Jay Nunez is leaving Oklahoma, headed to Alabama for the same role. But there's some prospects in that one, and I saw OU Insider reported on that. We'll talk about that in another video. But in this video, I want to dive into the off-the-field staffers that are departing as well as looks like coming in, and kind of excited about a couple of them that could change the game for Oklahoma. So let's take a look at that. Before we do that, welcome to Unfair Sports. I'm your host, Jay. Thank y'all for pulling up to the channel. If y'all like the content here, please hit that like button and also hop in the comments and let me know how you feeling about Oklahoma going into the SEC, especially with these staff changes. Once I dive into it, definitely want to hear from you all. Those engagements definitely help us here at the channel. So real quick, one of the big things about the off-the-field staff that a lot of people don't recognize or understand is they're a critical component, especially when it comes to recruiting. And so one departure that we just saw is J.R. Sandlin. He was the director of player personnel, and he is bouncing out to take a job down at SMU. Looks like he will be elevated into a GM role, and that's a pretty big role to move into, which a lot of the off-the-field staffers would like to get into the GM type role or AD role, you know, athletic director, associate athletic director. The opportunities to move up in those type of roles are critical in their career advancement. And so I want y'all to look at this as not Oklahoma losing people because things are bad, but when you see people get promoted, yeah, that's a great thing. This isn't like the situation that's happening at Missouri right now where their AD left to take a pay cut to go back to her alma mater. That usually means something else when that type of departure happens. But when you see promotions happen, yeah, you should be excited about what's going on here at Oklahoma and people coming here and advancing, because that tells you that other programs are recognizing what Oklahoma's doing and they're going to start snatching some of that talent. They're like, hey, I mean, we'll gladly give you the next elevated title. We'll move you up. We want to leverage your skill set to try to help us build into something new. And JR taking the job at SMU that's a pretty good promotion, right? Like we saw Lee Davis, who was the director of on-field recruiting. She was handling all of the recruiting stuff, and she left after 2 years to get an associate AD role over at UCF, which that's a huge move up, and leading her closer and closer to becoming an athletic director at a big program. So that's another promotion. But the good thing is that we're going to be starting to move in the direction of adding some more talent that's going to be able to help keep this going. So when it comes to the on-field recruiting, not to ramble too much, but that role is critical because whenever you talk to parents or, you know, parents of recruits or even recruits, you talk to parents of recruits or recruits, and you ask them about the experience at these events that we have, the junior days, the future freaks, and all of that, they usually talk about not only the event itself, but the staff. So the one thing we've got already going is the staff. They enjoy the staff. They love the fact that they see BV. They love the fact that Oklahoma has all these people around. And so now that they've seen the coaches, but the event itself is also critical. And everybody talks about, they just raved about the events that Lee Davis and JR were a part of and how cool it was. And the environment was dope. They did some cool stuff. I mean, I've heard about the breakfasts and everything at an airport hangar. Like, everybody raved about the presentation. And that is pretty important. That's a critical component to show that you're taking this recruiting stuff serious when you bring in recruits, that you give them a nice presentation on top of the coaches doing their thing. So because of we're losing people, we're going to bring in a couple more. So I'm hearing, this was reported by Sooner Illustrated, our boy Colin Kennedy, friend of the show. He'll be back soon. We've already talked. We're going to get him back on the channel to talk some recruiting and such. But he reported that Jolie L., former community relations manager over at the Los Angeles Chargers, as the director of on-campus recruiting. So that's a pretty big step. So a little bit about Ms. L. She is a graduate of USC, University of Southern California. Do not throw tomatoes at your screen right now. Do not throw anything at me. She's a USC grad. She worked there from 2017 to 2020, and then she left to go to Utah, in which she was part of those Utah teams that won back-to-back conference championships. She was putting together the events for recruiting, in which Utah was putting together some solid classes, and Kyle Whittingham and them went out there and won games with those recruits. So she was a part of that. Spent a couple years there, bounced out, went to the NFL, and now she's making her return back to the collegiate level, in which coming to the collegiate level is another step for her at this level, moving up into the ranks of AD status and all of that. And so she's coming to a program going into the SEC, which is perfect, a good transition. Do not throw tomatoes at my screen because she went to USC. I don't care. But the goal here is to put together elite events. That way, when recruits come, they see how special things are here at Oklahoma. So Jolie L will be that job. Shout out to Colin Kennedy on reporting. Hop in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts on that. OU Insider is the one that reported that J.R. Sandling was leaving. And rumor has it, I had a couple friends hit me up and say that they're hearing that a former player will be jumping into the ranks of player personnel. Curtis Lofton, a guy that's now with the Soul Mission. Supposedly he's going to shift in. When I heard that, I was like, oh, that's some good stuff. Bringing in the player, a former player who's already running the Soul Mission, and everyone loves the Soul Mission, giving him the additional duties of handling a lot of the on-campus recruiting stuff with Jolie L. Oh, man. So I'm assuming that he's going to probably be working towards a GM role. I'm not sure what the titles are going to be yet because I haven't seen anything official come out. But I saw the tweet about, him potentially coming here to staying here to Oklahoma and being elevated. And so that's huge. Gotta love having former players do stuff here at the school that tells you that we're invested in not only being successful, but also showing people what Oklahoma is truly about by bringing in those players that were very impactful in what we've done. So that's some of the news around the coaching changes. Hop in the comments. Let your boy know your thoughts. How y'all feeling about Oklahoma making some shifts and changes? Like I said, I know y'all are concerned that we're losing people, but I promise you, the losses of folks is a good thing because whenever you're bringing in, when they're getting promoted, if they're leaving for lateral moves in some capacity, could be some concerns unless it's a coach that you don't like and you want them gone anyway. Y'all know how y'all is. But you do want to see your coaches get promoted or your staffers get promoted as well. Made it this far like the content, please hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Love for y'all to join this family of college football fans. Talking a lot of OU football and college football in general. Having a blast, do it. So, YouTube says check out one of these videos. Highly recommend it because I made it for you. And we'll have more videos coming down the line. We'll talk soon. Peace.